This is a recording of Glenn Freeman of 1200 Johnston Road, lot number 13-8 at the Travelers Rest Airstream Park, Dade City, Florida, zip code 33525. Glenn's phone number, area code 904-588-2912. The recording was made by Jim Walkinshaw of the Oldsmobile History Center on January 27, 1989 at Glenn's home in Dade City. This is tape number 1 of 2 tapes. Glenn, if you'd start with your name and address and phone number, please.
Well, it's Glenn Freeman from Plant Security Department. We're living at Travelers Rest, which is an Airstream Park, 11 miles out of Dade City, and we're on lot 13-8. And the mailing address, of course, is Dade City.
What's this? Does it have a street address of some kind?
Well, 13-8. It's the 13th Avenue,
Okay.
8 lots.
All right, but you don't need something out on the road for an address?
Well, 1200 Johnston Road.
We'll get you. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. How about your phone number, Glenn?
Well, the phone number is area code 904-588-2912.
Okay. Now, why don't you just take us back to when you started at Oldsmobile?
Well, when I started Oldsmobile, it was back in 1941. We had a chief by the name of Robert Cook.
Not the Robert Cook I know.
No. This is, the initial I think is the same as Robert M. Cook.
All right.
But he took a leave of absence from the state police to come and reorganize plant protection or plant security department as it became known.
Mm-hmm.
In 1934. And in 1935, he quit the state police to remain as chief at Oldsmobile.
All right. Okay.
And at that time, it was more or less a watchman's job rather than a plant security deal.
Mm-hmm.
And he reorganized it and built up the force. And he started, he was there at the start of World War II. And at one time, we had 140 plus patrolmen. in the plant.
That was around the start of the wartime?
Yeah.
Quite a bunch,
And that was, we only had 2 plants at that time also.
Okay, the forge and plant 1, or the
Yeah, the main plant and the forge plant, yes.
Okay.
And later on, the forge plant was separated from Oldsmobile as far as jurisdiction, you might say. But the forge bought their security from Oldsmobile.
Okay.
And there was a group that went over there as a permanent detail.
Mm-hmm.
And I happened to be one of those that went over there.
Now, is that where you went when you first came in then?
Well, I spent 3-4 months at the main plant.
Okay.
From May until September.
That was in 41.
Yeah, in 41.
Okay.
Then we went over to Forge plant, and then that became known as General Motors Forge.
Okay. What did you do at the main plant while you were over there, Glenn?
Well, I was a patrolman there.
But what kinds of things did a patrolman have to do?
Well, walk the beats, tend the gates.
Walking the beat is doing like what?
Well, a patrol through the buildings.
Okay.
A regulated patrol.
You punch
Program
a little,
patrol. Yeah.
Punch a little whatever.
We had the old night watch key. And also the BJ system on the fire alarm boxes.
Okay.
And so on was just coming in at that time.
Yeah.
And so we had a combination of the old big key and also the key for the
All right.
fire alarm.
Did you work all shifts at that time, or how?
Yes,
did you...
rotated shifts. You was on a shift for 7 weeks.
All right.
We had a rotating day off schedule where you had, say, Monday and Tuesday 1 week, Next week be Tuesday, Wednesday,
All
and
right.
progress down through till you get to Saturday and Sunday. When you got Saturday and Sunday off, you got Monday of the following week. So it gave you a 3-day weekend.
Oh, okay.
And then when you had Sunday, Monday and Sunday,
Mm-hmm.
then you also had a Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday the next weekend.
Oh, all right.
Then your days off
All
started
right.
back
But
again.
was it an 8-hour day?
Yeah, it was strictly an 8-hour day.
8-hour
Yes,
day.
Yes,
Okay.
and you got paid for 8 hours a day, unless you worked overtime.
Yeah.
And when I say overtime, that was you had to put in an extra day.
Yeah, okay.
Anything else is considered casual overtime.
All right. Do you remember what you hired him at?
$150 a month.
That was a salary job.
That was a salary job.
Okay.
And that was another thing that Bob Cook brought in, was he got it changed from hourly rate to salary.
So in the 30s sometime that happened.
Well, yeah, the late 30s,
Okay.
because he started there in 34.
All right. Now, did you have any hourly people working with you at that time, Glenn?
Not on our department,
All
no.
right. Not inside the plant protection group?
No. Not until after the war. In fact, it was after 51
Okay.
when the plant protection department organized into the union.
Oh, all right. That's when that occurred.
Yes.
All right.
And then the UAW says, well, we shall get in there and be your hourly men on the fire maintenance group.
All right.
So they started that, and that came under Nick Kiefer, who,
Oh, yeah, I remember that.
and they set up that, and Wayne Peak, I think, was the first foreman they had
All right.
in there on that.
Okay. But that was when we made the split from the old salary kind of thing to the union.
Hourly, as far as fire maintenance was concerned.
Okay.
Because the hourly people in the United, or as in the what the heck they call it, UAW,
Yeah.
said that hourly job belongs to the hourly people. That is, the
Okay.
cleaning of the fire extinguishers, filling them and stuff like
Yeah.
that. It's not a salaried job.
All right. What did you guys do that in the early 40s?
Oh yes.
That was still that
oh
was
yeah.
being done.
That was part of our
You
job.
had fire maintenance and
Yeah.
fire
that-
extinguishers and all that.
That was up
jazz.
into the 50s.
Okay.
Because they organized in 51.
Yeah. Okay. Well, anyway, you went over to the forge plant then just a few months before the war started, apparently.
Yeah, September of 1941.
All
We
right.
went over there, and the war was started in December.
Yeah. Were we making stuff over there for war materials?
Oh
at that
yes,
point in time?
yeah. See, when the forge plant was started, it was a forge plant,
Okay.
and it was forging shells,
All right.
75 millimeter shells, and they had quite a lot of castings made or forgings made before they got their shell machining plant set up.
Now the machining plant went over there too.
Yes,
All right.
and
When you arrived over there at the forge plant, Glenn, was it just the south kind of row of buildings that was all that was there? You didn't have
yeah, we only had 6 buildings, 5 buildings, 5 buildings.
202, and that south row of buildings.
Yeah. Well, it was actually the north row buildings.
The north row of buildings. That was 206 and 207 and 208. That came along later.
Oh no! Wait a minute. Those came along later.
Yeah. Okay.
There's 201, 202, 203, and 204.
4 and maybe 5. I don't know whether 5 was there
well,
or not.
five was built when we was there.
All right.
But when they started a big program putting in 205 or 206, 207, and 208,
Yeah.
all the fences and things were tore down
Oh.
on the outside,
Yeah.
and it was still wartime.
Yeah.
And we had the Clare Street gate
Okay.
went in,
Yeah.
and Elger Street gatehouse was tore down.
It was.
Yeah.
Okay.
And we had a kind of a telephone booth deal, about the size of a telephone booth, out on the southwest corner.
Uh-huh.
And that's where we were stationed to watch the boundaries.
And you just looked up through where the fence would have been, sort of.
That's about it.
Wow.
And there was no floodlights or anything like that.
That was our war security?
That was war security.
Oh my goodness.
And it that went on until they got the buildings built and the new gatehouse built up and the fences erected and so on.
That must have been, what, 44, 3 or?
40, late 43, early 44, somewhere along in there.
Okay.
And after that, why, we was brought back to the main plant. That is, they started rotating people.
Okay.
You'd go over to forge plant for, well, I forget what the number of weeks now it was, 3 or 4 weeks, something like that, and come back to the main plant. That was, so everybody would be acquainted with it over there.
Okay.
And everybody would be acquainted. In case of emergency, it we had a full contingent of men that could go either place.
Any peculiar happenings at the forge plant you can remember during that stay?
Well, the big things over there was the quench tank fires.
Oh, all right.
And
in the heat treating area.
From the heat treat area, yes. Now, down in 203, no, 204 is what it was. And they were primarily set up to quench crankshafts, or heat treat crankshafts. And when they started running the shells, they had to rework the equipment, and the load was so heavy that the oil would heat and catch fire.
Oh my goodness.
And go up and get in the stack.
Oh boy.
And it seemed like, 2 or 3 times a week we'd have a fire up on the stack.
How'd you get that baby out? Wouldn't there dump water in it?
Well, they used steam.
Oh, okay.
They piped steam in there, and that would quench it. But it didn't clean the stacks. And one particular time, out in the hammer shop, 203, we had some sparks from one of the furnaces go up and ignite the ceiling.
Just the building ceiling?
Building ceiling. The ceiling itself was ignited, but the soot that had accumulated and the ash and stuff that went up and stuck there, because you're using fuel oil, number 8 fuel oil
for heating,
for heat,
the furnace?
for the fuel for the furnaces. And that was thick and black, and when they'd light them up, it would just be black smoke coming up out of there till they got warmed up in good shape. Well, that started going. We had the fire truck at that time. So the first fire occurred rather early in the morning. It was 8, 9 o'clock, something like that. Our shift had just gotten on. So we went in and rode the traveling crane.
Okay, the big overhead crane.
Big overhead crane down to where we thought the fire was, and got the fire truck in and picked the hose up there and sprayed around and got what we figured the fire was out.
What was it, just all smoke up there so you couldn't see anything?
Well, it was, all you could see was just sparks burning in there. This soot and stuff up there. It was real dirty. And we came back down. About 3 hours later, took off again.
Oh my goodness. So
we went up and started spraying around again, and we spent probably close to 45 minutes on top of the crane. And figured, well, we got it out this time. Another 3 or 4 hours, took off again. At that time, Tom Darton was the plant manager over there. Don Brainerd was the safety man. Wiley Beeman was the plant engineer. They says, we'll go up and we'll see what we can find out up there. So they went up on top of the crane, and they was taken down over the area. And they hollered down, send us up the hose. We want to take a spread. So we sent them up the hose, and they sprayed it. They came down and scrubbed for a couple hours trying to get the
I can
oily
imagine.
set up.
Yeah, it turned black.
Because
didn't
it penetrated the clothes right through the uniforms and everything, right into the skin. And ordinary soap wouldn't take it off. You had to use a granulated powder to take the stuff off in the skin.
Stuff was really gooey.
And Darton says, well, he says, that convinced me of one thing, that ceiling needs cleaning. And I don't think it ever was cleaned.
It never got clean.
Never got clean. But it's that was one of the instances over there that was really a lot of fun. And of course, there at the main plant then, well, a couple unusual instances was we had a rash of theft of tires.
Okay.
Either from the plant or from the boxcars outside the plant.
This was later on now.
Yes,
Okay.
this was later on. This
All
was
right.
after we got back in the war production.
Okay.
And I don't remember the year, but they got 3 or 4 fellows and took them into court. And
What were they doing? Just opening up
opening up
boxcars?
the boxcars,
Busting
rolling
the
tires
seal
out.
and
Yeah.
In our yard or out in the
In our yard,
in our yard?
and also on the leads into the plant.
Uh-huh.
And a lot of it was done outside the plant. That is in the storage areas out there on Mount Hope.
Yeah, the rail yard storage
Yeah.
areas. Uh-huh.
But they was able to get a conviction.
How do we ever catch those guys? Somebody just can't see them doing it?
Yeah, one of our fellows was over in the area,
Mm-hmm.
and just what all the deals was or details on it.
Yeah.
I don't recall.
Yeah.
Because it didn't happen on my shift.
Yeah, thank goodness.
Yeah. And one of the things that they never did find out was the cash register in Building 32 cafeteria was broken open at night on the night shift.
Yeah.
And small change was scattered around the floor, but the rest of the money was taken.
Yeah.
And they never did find out who did take it.
We never caught that guy, huh?
No.
Mm-hmm. Be hard to do.
And of course, then going on a little bit later, we had some kids come over the fence and back some cars out in the marshalling areas.
Did they get them out of the gate, or out of the yard, or just?
Yeah, they were in the yard,
Uh-huh.
and the cars was left in the yard, but they was out playing tag or something out there.
Crash.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
They'd back one up and it jumped a retaining wall, and about a third of it was hanging over the...
Out over the railroad track or something?
Yeah. Now, there may be some pictures of that down there in the archives someplace.
Okay. You guys had one of those that you stored those kinds of things in downstairs?
Purchase may have had it.
Uh-huh. Okay.
Yeah, in fact, he had a draw down there, and I was trying to think where the draw was now. I believe it was back in the vault.
Mm-hmm. Okay, well, snoop around down there. See what we can find.
Then we had some more. They drove a couple of cars out from underneath the fence that had just took a running start and hit the fence with it.
Tried to go through the fence? Yeah.
They did go under the fence.
Oh, it skidded up.
It skidded up over the top.
Uh-huh. Well, I bet that made a mess out of it,
It puts little scratches in the paint.
Oh, it sure does.
And then we had some more. We had a couple of guys get in there, and we had the the TV cameras out there on the post.
Oh yeah.
Out in the area.
Yeah.
And the guy watching the monitor seen the action on it. And they dispatched people up. One of them crawled underneath a car, and the other guy ran. And he ran towards the north fence.
Yeah.
Right up on the back end of the car on the top, and did a handstand on the fence as he flipped over it, and kept right on running. Hardly missed a step.
Really? Like he'd been doing this all his life? Almost.
Yeah, and the city police caught him about 5 blocks away.
Isn't that something?
And they got convictions on both of those fellows.
Uh-huh. So we did have those those kinds of experiences.
Oh
then,
yes,
didn't they, in the plant?
yeah.
It was mostly out in the car assembly world, Glenn?
Yeah, we had one other deal. They broke into building 68,
Okay, the driveway.
driveway building.
Uh-huh.
And the man came up on the beat and you heard some pounding. And when he got up a little closer, you could see the shadows of the guys in there pounding on the vending machine.
Oh.
So he went back down the Logan Street gate, called the office, and I happened to be out in the car on the east side of the plant. In fact, I think I was down in the old Lot 28.
Yeah.
And I started back up to go up there to 68. And I seen one of our guys running from 68 down, and he was cutting in back through the houses on the north side of Olds Avenue. So I got out and he says, "Watch him, Glenn." He says, "They got the hammer." And so we run down through there. We couldn't find him.
Oh, really?
And they came back, and city police had been notified, and they picked up a couple of guys. And Glenn Sanders, I think, was one of them that's seen him. Barry Wolfram was one of the guys up there. Ken Odell, I believe, was the man on the beat. And one of the fellows had seen enough that he could identify him. But when they left the building, they went out through the window in the washroom.
Oh, yeah.
Which was on the east side of the building.
Right.
They broke the lavatory off and they're climbing out.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah, water spraying
spurting all over the place.
And we recovered the money from the cigarette machines there. And it, they, as I say, they got convictions on those. And that's about all of the thefts that I can remember.
The exterior thefts,
Yeah.
But see, Glenn, you after your stay at the forge plant, then you came back to Plant 1?
Yes.
Now, you were just a patrolman all this time, so to speak?
Well, I was a patrolman from 41 to June of 45.
Okay.
And in June of 45, I went on the desk.
All right. Which was doing what?
It was still a patrolman's job.
Yeah.
But it had been a sergeant's job. That is, we had desk sergeants during the war.
Yeah.
And when I went on the desk, I was on the desk until January 1 of 46.
Okay. Now the desk guy, what was his task? Incoming stuff?
He worked, the desk officer worked the day shift on the desk Monday through or Tuesday through Saturday.
Okay.
The reason for that, instead of being Monday through Friday, he was on a 5-day week. And on Saturday, the 4 banks in town would call a desk man and give them the amount of checks, salary and hourly, that they had cashed Friday.
Oh, the people had gone out and cashed their checks.
Yeah, they'd gone out and cashed their checks.
Yeah.
And
what was that for?
Well, that information had to be called to the National Bank of Detroit prior to 11 o'clock in the morning.
Oh. Okay, and you were kind of the collectors of that data, huh?
Yeah.
Oh.
And during that particular time, the sergeant was required to come in out of the plant, sit there at the desk, answer all incoming calls, except the outside line where these banks would call.
Yeah.
And those came in, and you had to tally them, see that they balanced both ways, up, all ways. Well, good for you, brother. Thank you.
Yeah.
Huh?
That was sign language for excuse me.
I know.
I help
Thank
teach
you.
sign language here in the park. I do.
That would be
Thank you.
that would be called in to the bank down there.
Yeah.
So they could issue the checks to cover it back up here
Oh,
before
yeah.
they wrote any other checks.
Before they ran out of money, so to speak.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it was interesting. And then in January of '46, I went on supervision as a sergeant.
All right.
And sergeant until 56, I think it was.
Now,
53.
Glenn,
53.
who was the chief at that time now?
Homer Purchase.
When did Homer come to be the chief?
Well, Bob Cook had a heart attack during the war,
All right.
and he wasn't able to perform his duties. Well, Purchase was a lieutenant
All
at
right.
that time,
Uh-huh.
and he more or less took over as acting chief. Henry Lohr was the assistant chief when I went there,
All right.
and he went to work for the government, and I can't tell you what the title of his job was.
That's all right.
Yes, and then after Bob Cook decided to leave the employ of the Olds, they sent out and got Bruce Gordon
Okay.
to come in. Bruce came in, and I can't tell you the year, but I think it was 45, 46, 47, somewhere along
As
there.
chief?
He came in as chief, yes.
Okay.
He'd been there about 3-4 months, and they made him safety director as well as chief.
Isn't that interesting? Okay.
And he acted in that capacity for about a year, and then they decided to part company as far as Mr. Gordon was concerned, and Homer Purchase became chief,
Okay.
and Bob Stone became safety director.
All right. And this other guy left? He left?
He
both of you?
left. He left employ of General
Okay.
Motors.
What can you tell me about Cook? What kind of a guy was Cook? Because we don't know anything about him.
He was a real policeman.
Okay.
In fact,
Kind of a sergeant type guy as far as how he managed people, or how did he manage folks?
well, he was more or less boss.
Okay.
And he let you know he was boss.
Yeah.
But he was fair.
Okay.
And I was talking with Paul Taylor, who later became chief down at the Lansing Police Department.
Mm-hmm.
And he says, anything that Bob Cook tells you to do, he says, you go ahead and do it. You've got a legal right to do it, he says. And he says, he is a policeman's policeman.
Okay.
And Charlie Dietrich was an hourly worker at the forge plant. He was a welder who had been out at the state police with Bob Cook.
Mhm.
Bob was working in the state police. And he says, there wasn't a better policeman going.
Oh, that's good.
In fact, just prior to coming to Oldsmobile, Cook was a special investigator for the grand jury in Jackson County.
Hmm.
He had a real good background,
Mm-hmm.
and he ran the department very efficiently.
Mm-hmm.
It's too bad that he wasn't too well liked by the personnel director at that time.
Okay.
But after his heart attack, he came back,
Yeah.
and he worked a couple, 3 months, and right back with another heart
Yeah,
attack.
yeah.
So he left,
Left. Yeah.
and
Who was his replacement again?
Bruce Gordon.
Gordon. Okay. What kind of a guy was Gordon there?
Well, he was a fisherman.
He was a fisherman. What does that mean? He spent all of his life fishing?
All his spare time was spent fishing, or going out, and they would go north on the weekends.
Yeah.
He'd take a bunch of fellows with him and go up there.
Guys from the department? Or
Well,
just other folks?
he was a politician also.
Oh boy. Okay.
And that's how I got the safety job in there.
Mm-hmm.
But they, well, now he was some relation to one of the board of directors. There was a Gordon, I think, or he was.
Well, there was a Gordon eventually that was chairman. Is that related
Brother.
to him? Oh, brother. Oh, okay, great. All right. That
That
explains
answers
it.
that question.
Yep. Who was the next guy?
That was Homer Purchase.
Okay, and Homer came along after him.
Homer came along after him.
All right.
Although Homer run the department, while Bob Cook was on sick leave.
Sick leave. Okay. Okay.
You know, when Homer became chief, then he elevated Floyd Schwab to the rank, you might say, of first lieutenant.
Okay.
And Schwab did a lot of the scheduling, personnel work, and second command, you might say, in the
When Homer
department.
was gone.
That's right.
All right.
Then, after World War II was over, Nick Kiefer, who had been chief at the Janesville plant.
Okay. Now we were sort of managing those plants, weren't we? The Janesville and the Kansas City plant.
Yep. We rented the plants and used their personnel
Mm-hmm.
under our supervision.
Yeah.
But when they went back to automotive production, they had the privilege of coming to Oldsmobile or staying at the plant.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
And if they stayed at the plant, they had to take the job that was offered.
Mm.
And sometimes it was below
Yeah.
what they had
Yeah.
as far as Olds was concerned.
Yeah.
So they, Nick Kiefer was one of those that came to the Olds at
Mhm.
that time.
Okay. Did he come as fire marshal?
He came as fire marshal.
Did we
yeah.
have one prior to that?
No.
Glenn? We hadn't.
No,
We
the
didn't have a
job
fire.
was actually made for Nick
All right.
to come in.
All right.
And Nick had the fire marshal's job, which included the fire maintenance
Mm-hmm.
and various other factors. And he became more or less a liaison officer between our department and the city fire department.
Okay.
He also headed up the fire brigade training, first aid training.
Okay. Now was that kind of the start of all of that too, or were we doing that prior to his arrival?
We had one time, but it was more or less dropped
All right.
and then reorganized and reinstituted again into
Okay.
the program,
Mm-hmm.
which made it very good. And we was running about 2,500 employees
Wow.
a year through this fire brigade and first aid training.
Mm-hmm.
And that was after Duke Shaw became the instructor.
Mm-hmm.
Now, Duke, I think, actually worked out of education and training attached to our department.
Mm. All right.
And all his activities was relative to our, fire brigade and first aid.
Okay.
He was able to take and get the Red Cross people to give the fire brigade and first aid people at Oldsmobile who completed X number of hours in the course
Mm-hmm.
a first aid card as a Red Cross.
Mm-hmm. Whatever you call those guys,
Yeah.
certified something or
Yeah,
other.
certified.
Yeah.
And then he became the liaison officer between our department and the fire department. And when Box 23 Association was formed in the city, Purchase, Kiefer, and Duke Shaw became members of it.
What was Box 23?
Well, that was a volunteer organization that, in the event of a major fire in Lansing, they'd be notified, and they would see that there was coffee, donuts,
Okay.
gloves and stuff taken out to the scene
Mm-hmm.
so the firemen would have something to warm up by or
Mm-hmm.
along
Yeah.
that line. It was strictly an
That's kind
honorary
of a
group.
service
Yeah.
group a little bit.
And the Box 23, they call it the Box 23 because Box 23 was the alarm box pulled for Hotel Kearns fire
Oh,
in 1934.
all right. Mm-hmm. So that organization sort of started back in the 30s at some time.
Well, yeah, but didn't become too active until after
Mm-hmm.
in the 40s.
All right. Okay.
And they limited their membership to 23.
That's interesting. Same number.
Yeah.
Mhm. And we had 3 guys.
We had 3 guys in it,
Interesting.
yeah.
Uh-huh.
And it was an honorary deal, and yet they performed a service too.
Sure. It's like a service organization. Yeah.
And I don't know if it's still going or not. Then, but in 1955, the plant security forces in Lansing, in the 9 counties in Central Michigan, was invited to join the Central Michigan Law Enforcement Association as associate membership.
Mm-hmm.
And we had something like 22 people from Oldsmobile Plant Security Department join it.
Mm-hmm.
Well, our membership dwindled because they didn't feel that they was offering us enough benefits.
Mm-hmm.
But in 1956, they decided that the associate membership should have representation on the board, board of trustees. And inasmuch as the bylaws of the organization said that the elected officers would be from the municipal police department, the sheriff's department, conservation department, or state police, the trustees, as they would be known, would be appointed by the president.
Mm-hmm.
And there would be 3 of them instead of 2, as it was originally designed for. Be 3 of them, and the 3rd one would be from associate membership.
Oh, okay.
I was fortunate enough to be appointed the first time,
Okay.
and I held the post for 17 years.
Wow.
We're being reappointed every year.
Yeah.
And I know it was because Oldsmobile was very active
Sure.
in supporting the group.
Yeah.
I talked to Mr. Purchase on it, and he said, yeah, they would be able to take and host meetings up there in the auditorium. So we held our first meeting up there in, I guess around 57, 58.
Mm-hmm.
And that was in January. Then every other January we would host a January meeting because it was centrally located.
Sure.
And it's fine. And we was fortunate enough that Mr. Mahoney, who was personnel director at that time, former police commissioner in Lansing, and well known throughout the police circles in Central Michigan, said, well, yeah, we can take and finance that for him.
Mm-hmm.
So any money paid membership for their meals and stuff while when we was holding them in Oldsmobile, the money went into the treasurer.
Mm-hmm.
And they used the money one year to buy $2,000 worth of sound equipment for a medium security prison over in Ionia County.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And after that, the membership fell off as far as, and we didn't accumulate as much money in the treasury, so we couldn't go out on another program that way. But the first 4 or 5 years, they would hold an annual shoot down at Jackson. and we were invited to participate. Well, Jackson's police range down there had 50 or 60 target stations on it.
Wow.
And it was a very good place to go shoot. And the Oldsmobile had a pistol team. They had formed a pistol club. And we went down and shot there. Well, after, I think it was 5, possibly 6 years, we didn't go back because we'd lost, some of us hadn't lost interest, but
But others had, huh?
Yeah. So we didn't get over there anymore. But we did, the Law Enforcement Association still held turkey shoots in November at Bertha Park in Ionia, which is well known as far as the Oldsmobile salaried people is concerned, because we used to have quite a few picnics over there.
Was, right.
We held them there in the lodge. But then, let's see, in 56, I was made lieutenant in charge of all plant protection activities at the main plant and outlying warehouses.
Yeah, okay. Well, that didn't include Plant 2?
Yes.
Yes. Okay.
Yes.
And Plant 3?
And Plant 3.
And Plant 4?
Plant 4 wasn't
Oh,
there.
this is 50, what? 56?
56.
Yeah, oh, Plant 4 wasn't there yet. Okay. But that would have been all of the rental warehouses we had.
Yeah, we had a warehouse in Grand Rapids. We had one
Duotherm.
over in Duotherm.
Yeah.
We had one over in Owasso.
Yep. That's right. Remember all those funny places.
And we had to make a monthly inspections at all of those joints to see that everything was running right.
See, Glenn, you were there during the that 46 or whenever it was we had a strike. Big old, it was 45 or 44 maybe, I don't know when it was, but we were out for 120 days or some darn thing.
Yeah.
Anything peculiar happened during that thing?
All the batteries of the lift trucks went dead.
Yeah, well, that's probably interesting, yeah.
It was a rather lonesome place around there.
Was there any problem getting in and out of the shop for you kind of guys?
No. In fact, the pickets out there would recognize you. We went out and drank coffee with them, as far as that goes.
That's good.
And it was good PR work as far as that goes.
Yeah.
And there was no hard feelings between us and them.
Okay, so we didn't really have any ruckus in Lansing.
Oh, no.
Okay.
It was one time, I don't remember which strike it was. With Willoughby and who was a couple of his henchmen, do you remember?
No.
Anyhow, one of them refused to leave the plant. And Bert just went down and talked to them, and they left.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, now if you talk to this Gene Sayre, they had a deal down on a dye room one time. This Glenn Willoughby was supposed to work in the dye room on a Saturday.
Yeah.
And normally these committee men would just go in and report, and they was on their own.
Uh-huh.
And Sarah told me he's going to have to work. Grab a broom, see.
Go to work, huh?
No, I guess it wasn't Sarah. I guess there was somebody else in there.
Okay.
Obie Rounds was in.
Oh, yeah.
Little
Sure.
Obie.
Yeah, I remember Obie. Yeah.
And he says, you're going to either work or go home. No, he wasn't going. So it happened to be that one of our sergeants from the forge plant was over, and the sergeant from the main plant was there when they called the office to have him escorted out of the plant.
Uh-oh.
And Howard Teller, I don't know if you remember him or not.
No.
Well, he was a little bit of a fella that 6'5",
Oh,
about
a little bit of a yeah, right.
about 240, 250 pounds. And Jim Strawcutter, who was around 6'2",
Yeah, big guy. Yeah.
went down there, and they was kind of at loss. Now this was on a Saturday, and there was no other supervision around as far as our department was concerned.
Yeah.
But Bobby says he wanted them out of there, so they took a hold of little Glenn, and he jerked them both off balance, and they fell on top.
Squashed him, probably.
Well, they took him to hospital. And of course, the guys, hourly workers down there was kind of up in arms because of our guys. And they, of course, I still get kidded by that, about that. So this Gene Sayers. And of course, Gene stands 6 foot, and he's about 280 pounds right now himself.
So imagine they probably just about squashed that guy.
Yeah. But he gets a big kick out of telling them here. He says, yeah, he says, Freeman never comes down anything like that. He says, he always sends these big surgeons down.
He's no dummy.
And, but that's about the only instances we had as far as the union was concerned. And they,
see, Glenn, you were there when the smokestack came down, you said?
Yeah. In fact, they were getting ready to blow that. That was back, well, before 39 was built.
No, 37.
37.
Yeah, so it must have been like 50 or 51 or somewhere in there. 49, 50 or 51, somewhere there.
Well, I think I was a sergeant at that time, and was on the relief sergeant's job and assistant training instructor.
Okay.
And I think they blew that on a Sunday. They were going to do it on a Saturday, but the weather, I think, was a little too windy for them.
Okay.
So they waited until Sunday.
All right.
They had it pretty well prepared Saturday. And I asked Purchase if it'd be all right if I went up on the roof, took some movies of it.
Yeah.
He says, yeah. Well, there was quite a few people up on the roof.
Probably was crowded, wasn't it?
Well, when you say crowded, it wasn't what you'd call too bad. There was probably 20, 25 of us up there.
Yeah.
Plus Tom Hendy's photographers, you know.
Oh, okay.
And I don't remember if Leavenworth had your camera set up there or not.
Mm-hmm.
I think they did. So we stayed up there for about 4 hours.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, so it was kind of a long affair then.
Yes, it was.
Uh-huh.
And they had run the ambulance down on Division Street Extension, and we had a signal that they was about ready to blow. They was going to blow the siren on the ambulance for a minute to clear the area.
Okay.
Then blow it and go on. Well, I started the movie camera about 15, 20 seconds after they started blowing the siren.
Mm-hmm.
And it didn't go. I had to rewind the movie camera. And I was just putting it back up to my eye to zoom in on it there again when the puff of smoke came.
Okay.
So you don't actually see the explosion and flame, but you can see the billow of smoke come out.
Yeah.
And the stack does fall down and breaks into 3 pieces.
Did they blow it in the middle, or did it just break there when it?
They just at the bottom is all.
They just blew it at the bottom.
Just blew it at the bottom. See, what they'd done is put blocks underneath it. Take out a few brick, put a block underneath it.
Yeah.
Then they blew the blocks out.
Oh, okay. And it just kind of tipped over.
Just tipped over.
And it broke up there in the middle when it just as it was coming down.
Yeah.
They didn't blow that.
No. When it got probably at 15 degrees off the center, the first break came.
Yeah.
Then the next one came just half a second or so afterwards.
Okay. Did it make a heck of a lot of noise when it came down?
No.
It didn't.
No.
Isn't that something?
It all came right down. There wasn't a brick one out on Elm Street at all.
Yeah.
And that stack, I think, was 320 feet high.
Big cloud of dust, though.
Yeah, at the base of it
Yeah.
there.
Uh-huh.
And then, of course, it all fell within 100 foot of the base.
Isn't that something? We had hired an outside guy to do that?
Oh, yeah.
A demolition
Yeah.
guy or something?
Mm-hmm.
Uh-huh.
Of course, we had quite a lot of stuff blown there in the plant as far as demolition is concerned.
Old foundations and
Foundations and stuff. In the
Uh-huh.
old powerhouse.
that? Okay, in that same area?
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
For the old big steam compressors they had in there.
Yeah.
They had to blow that. And of course, you use these heavy rope mats and stuff
Uh-huh.
over the top of it when they blew.
So that they could keep the dust and the crud in the hole?
It keeps the big
Uh-huh.
chunks in the hole, yeah.
Uh-huh.
But there was a pretty good sized chunk went out from underneath the mat.
Oh, did it?
Yeah. And all you can see was just a little flutter like that on the mat.
Yeah. Yeah.
Boom! Quite a ways.
Never got anything though, did
No.
it? Yeah. Well, and all of those buildings kind of in that area, you must have been there when they all came down then. The old
Yes.
1, 2,
1B,
3.
1C,
yeah.
2B, 2C.
Yeah, and 10, and then 6,
6,
and
10.
8, and whatever else was down in there.
C4 was part of the powerhouse. 79 was part of the powerhouse.
Do you remember what all those old buildings were being used for prior to their demolition?
2B was old half-inchers.
Was what?
Half-inchers.
Okay, what is that? What did Hap do?
He was foreman over the trucks.
Well, it's like truck
Road
repair?
trucks.
Or-
Like Bud Ames was there.
Oh, yeah, okay, yeah. And so that was where they maintained those things then, Glenn?
Well,
And
his
that-
office there, and that's where their
Uh-huh.
garage and stuff was,
All right,
yeah.
okay. So that was one of them.
And also, they had the industrial truck repair in there.
All right. Same building?
Yeah.
All right.
Building 6. I believe it was 6B and 6C.
All right.
They were the plating department.
Okay. Do you know what we plated there?
Bumpers.
That was our bumper plant.
That was a
This-
bumper
what were
plant.
they doing up in 78? Weren't they plating
Oh,
up there?
that was actual plant.
That plating plant wasn't there yet?
Uh-uh.
Oh, okay. All right.
No. And this was all hand-operated jobs. And that is a winch, to drop down.
Drop it in the tank and pull it out?
Yep, yeah.
Uh-huh.
With and they'd roll it down to the next one.
Yeah.
There was no conveyor or automatic
Right.
deal at all on it.
But that must have been sort of an original piece of the plant then, hadn't it?
Oh, yes,
uh-huh.
yeah.
All right.
In fact, 2B and 2C, I think, was part of the old
Yeah.
engine plant.
All right.
Now, when I say engine plant, Lancey engine plant, something like that, they built gasoline engines there.
Oh, okay. Now, that you're thinking, I think of the old Reliance Engineering.
Yeah.
Okay. Those were torn down in the 30s sometime, or the 20s, to build 33, I think it was. So that was gone before you got there, I think.
Well, there was some buildings still standing.
Okay. But the ones that you're talking about now were the old original ones that were built in 1901 and 2 and 3 and 4.
Yeah.
Okay, well, how about building 10? You remember what was in 10?
Stores F.
Okay. That was all of the parts kind of for the plant, so to speak.
Yeah, that
Machinery parts and that sort of stuff.
Yeah,
Okay.
well, like Stores F is now.
Yeah.
Of course,
Yeah.
it was broken up. There was Stores F and Stores G,
Mm-hmm.
and one was production, the other was maintenance, I think.
Machine repair,
Yeah.
kind of like parts. Okay, let's see, what else was down in there? See, was the powerhouse wasn't for making steam, was it?
Yeah, they had the steam boilers in there.
They did have boilers.
Yeah.
there.
Well, we were using them as an incinerator,
So we were just burning paper and junk
Yeah.
and wood.
and they did heat a little water and stuff like that, but
Okay.
it wasn't generating too much power.
Yeah. And the steam compressors you mentioned,
We were buying steam from the city,
the city was providing the steam for
Yeah.
those. Okay.
and we had the steam line come across there. Then they built a new steam line during the war, and they brought over what they call superheated steam.
Okay.
And that was a deal where we had to take it. They had to fence down the backside of the plant.
Mm-hmm.
And we had to have men out there. And they brought that in, and it seemed like they had the big line coming over, and they had a condensate line going back
Mm-hmm.
because it's treated water. And it came in, and when it got into building 28, up on the second floor, south end of the hallway there,
Mm-hmm. That long skinny room. Yeah.
they had a spot there that they injected water back into the steam.
Okay.
And that made more steam, and they did it again down at the powerhouse.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And that superheated steam, of course, went to the
Yeah. Well, you heated the
compressors.
plant
And
stuff like
off on that,
Yeah.
they took the exhaust from that. Oh, okay. Took the exhaust off on that and used it for heat out of the plant.
Oh yeah.
In the summertime, they used it for heat, water and stuff like that in
Yeah.
other places.
Yeah.
But when it wasn't running the plant, that is when the plant was down,
Yeah.
those old steam compressors maybe make 6 revolutions a minute.
Just barely turning over.
Yeah.
Isn't that something?
And in fact, they had to open a bypass valve for heat out in the plant in wintertime. And Walter Slack was foreman in the powerhouse at the time. And he had it figured out what it cost to make compressed air
Yeah.
for the plant. And there was quite a difference between electric and steam.
Okay.
And I think he figured out around 4.5 cents, 4.5 cents a cubic foot
Uh-huh.
for air.
Uh-huh.
And he was quite a fellow to talk to
Yeah. Yeah.
because he had an engineering background. And at that time, I think Ralph Mosier was just a foreman in the pipe
Uh-huh.
shop. Later, Ralph went
Yeah.
up
Ralph had all that.
the
Yeah.
general foreman,
Yeah.
had the powerhouse as well as the pipe shop.
Right.
And it was quite a deal down
Uh-huh.
there.
See, Glenn, did those big old compressors, they must have had huge flywheels on them and all.
Oh yeah, they was probably 10 and 12 foot across.
Big old
And
iron
weigh-
flywheels.
They probably weighed close to 5-6 ton.
Oh, yeah. Huge things. Uh-huh.
And 2-cylinder jobs.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
One's, in fact, it was 4 cylinders.
Yeah.
2 of them for
2 for
steam pressure,
compressor,
and then
2 for air.
yeah,
Uh-huh.
and there was some stages, as first and second stage
Yeah.
as far as the air
Yeah.
compression.
Yeah.
And it was interesting to go in there. We had a fire in one of those.
Oh, did you? Uh-huh.
Not in the steam compressor, it was an electric,
Uh-huh.
one of the electric compressors they had down there.
One of the motors got overheated or something?
No switch gear.
Oh, the switchgear
Blew.
part. Oh,
Well, oil switch.
yeah.
Blew and set it afire. They had another interesting deal down there. You remember the old big receiver they had out?
Oh, yeah, the big tank?
Yeah.
Yeah.
They had a double safety on it up there.
Up at the top?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was, what do they call those relief valves?
Those are the big pop-off valve.
Pop-offs is what they were, yeah. They had come out on, I think, a 4-inch line and teed to 2 3-inch lines and went up to a pair of pop-offs
Yeah.
valve. And one of them blew.
Oh, my goodness.
And the inertia from that caused it to spin, and it spun right off on that. Here we had a 4-inch line
Oh,
come
wide
out, shut
open?
the plant down.
Oh, my goodness gracious sakes.
Yeah, shut the plant down.
It just unscrewed itself and screwed
Yeah.
right off. Isn't that something? Then you had to drain the whole system, I suppose, and go up there with somebody and...
It did drain
Yeah.
by itself.
Yeah, I can imagine it did with a big 4-inch line open.
Then it's,
Mhm. See, Glenn, were you, do you remember, were any of the war things going on when you got over to Plant 1? Like what was being done where? Do you remember any of the...
well, when I came back from the forge plant over there, Forge 2 was going over in 32,
Okay.
75.
All right.
That was a shell machining on the
All right.
105 shells.
All right, so it's a big shell.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And
That was in 3275.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Was that both floors of that building or just the first floor?
Well, pretty much the first floor.
All right.
They had some machine operations on the second
All
floor.
right. Okay.
But the building wasn't built to house the heavy machinery and
Yeah,
stuff like
just
that.
for car storage, sort of.
It was just a car storage.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Then down in building 52
All right.
and 50 was shell 3.
All right.
It was making the ogive and union,
All right.
which was an armor-piercing shell.
All right.
And
That was machining too, Glenn?
that was machining also.
Okay.
And that was a restricted area,
Okay.
very restrictive.
Yeah.
They had a special badge to get in there.
Okay. Was it both of those places or
No,
just the 50?
shell 2.
Okay.
You had to have a defense badge to get in.
Okay.
An automotive badge wouldn't get you there.
All right.
But the ogive and union had a special badge there.
Okay.
That is, it's
Yeah.
the shape of the badge is the same but different
Different
coloring.
color. Uh-huh.
And that was because this armor-piercing shell was being used against tanks and stuff. And
This is a recording of Glenn Freeman of Dade City, Florida. The recording was made by Jim Walkinshaw of the Oldsmobile History Center on January 27th, 1989. This is tape number 2 of 2 tapes. Okay.
it was kind of a secret operation yet, as far as the job was concerned, because it was soldering the nose
Yeah.
to the body. Now, as I say soldering, it might have been
Maybe brazing or something.
yeah, similar to what they do on the carburoid tools.
Oh yeah. 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 Kind of a brazing technique.
It was, let's see, I can't remember just what
Yeah.
badge it was down
Yeah.
there. I know we had guards at both ends of it.
And you wouldn't let folks come in unless they had this proper
That's
color.
right.
Uh-huh. Okay.
And
Now, you didn't do that up in 32 and 75?
No,
So people
No.
could just wander in and out
if they
of
had a defense badge,
Uh-huh.
they could go in and out.
All right. Now, what were they making cannons someplace?
Well, after they got 37, I believe that was the one, there in the corner of Elm and Division Street.
Okay, but now that would have been in the 50s, because that building wasn't built until 50 or 51.
Well, down in 34,
Okay.
they had a 37 millimeter cannon.
Okay, so we were making that in building 34. Okay. How about in building 56? Was anything being made in 56? The big high bay of 56?
That might have been part of the OJ or Ogive and Union deal down
Okay.
there.
All right.
Building 36 and 38
All right.
was 20 millimeter cannons.
All right.
44, which was the underground testing area.
Okay. So you got down there a few times?
Oh yeah, that's where they tested the 37s and the 20s.
All right. They shoot every gun?
Oh yeah,
Uh-huh.
yeah.
Shot every gun.
And they had a programmed deal that they went through.
Mm-hmm.
The target area, the bunker area down the
Mhm.
back end of it,
What you're shooting into.
yeah, the sand,
Yeah.
was had special locks on it,
Okay.
unmastered locks.
So you wouldn't wander in?
And although we had a guy back there, well, not one of our fellows, one of the maintenance people was back there.
While they were shooting?
They started shooting while he was back there.
Did he
Yeah,
get out in a hurry?
He sure did.
Yeah. Wow.
And I think they put in an interlock then.
Okay.
That
So the guys up front would know if something was...
well, it de-energized the trigger system.
Uh-huh.
They just couldn't fire while it was, this
Yeah.
door
Wow.
was. But
How many guns could you shoot at a time? Do you remember, Glenn?
I don't remember. Seems like it was about 6.
Okay.
6 at a
Places
time.
that you could.
Yeah.
Did people reside down there in the firing chamber while all this was going on, or did you set up a gun and get out, so to speak?
No, you stayed down there. You had to watch the operation of it and all.
Uh-huh.
As we didn't, that is.
No, not you
but
guys,
the
but the
operators,
production guys.
Yeah, the production people.
Uh-huh.
And I was trying to think. There was one little gal there at the plant. Was down there as an ordnance inspector.
Oh, she was a government person.
Yeah.
Oh.
The government had their inspectors down there as well as our people down in there,
Mm-hmm.
because they had to observe it and okay it.
Yeah. Okay.
And then it. 37 wasn't built, say, until
No, 50, 51, somewhere in there, yeah. Because that's when your smokestack came down, remember?
Well, that was after World War II.
Yeah. See, now we're back in the end of World War II making cannons and 20 millimeters and that sort of stuff.
Well, there was machining big barrels down there, a 3-inch.
That must have been in 56 then. They must have been doing that in the high bay of 56.
That could have been.
Because that was built during the war. That was built in 44 and 43 and in that time frame.
Yeah. Well, they had 75 millimeter cannons.
Okay.
A 3-inch gun.
Uh-huh.
That big tall.
Yeah.
They I think plated the bore.
Okay. Now that would have been in World War, or after. It would have been in the Korean War, I think, where we plated those in 37. We did that in 37.
Okay.
So that would have been the Korean War thing, would have been that.
Okay.
All right. So that's when that was.
Then they was making a recoilless rifle barrel.
Okay.
And
How about down in the far east end of the engine plant? What were we doing down in there? Like 28 and 33 in that neck of the woods. Was there anything going on down there?
no, it was. I don't think they had any war.
Okay.
No, wait a minute. The 3.5 rocket went in down there,
All right.
and they were
Okay.
running that down in that area.
All right.
Of course, 35 was still the heat treat
Yeah.
on a lot
Yeah.
of that stuff.
Yeah. Okay.
And
Well, that's a pretty good description of where things were in there. Did we have a lot of gals in the plant at that time?
yes,
Did you have gals in plant protection
No.
at all? None in that?
no,
Okay.
we didn't have any gals in plant protection other than in the office.
Yeah, the secretary types.
Yeah,
Uh-uh.
until Lord, I believe it was 60s.
All right. So you were,
Yeah.
all right. And the gals in the operational side of the plant, that was kind of a war occurrence?
Yes. Yeah, there was a lot of them came in and worked because we just couldn't get manpower.
Yeah, yeah. Did that create any peculiar problems that you ran into from your side of the coin?
No.
Okay.
We had all the problems there of any city 17,000 or more.
Yeah, right.
And but as far as
Nothing that was unique that
No,
created.
it,
That they just kind of fit in and work went forward and.
yeah.
Yeah.
Now there may have been a lot of romance that started
Oh
there.
well, yeah, but that's kind of a normal sort of thing. Yeah.
And it's
Okay. All right, now let's see, Glenn. Get me up to now the 50s. We built a new car assembly plant in 49. Out there in 32 and 75.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of remember that thing going in.
Yeah, that putting in the lines and stuff.
Yeah, we moved from old 16 and all of that area over to 32 and 75. That must have been for the 49 model, I think.
Yeah. Yeah, the contractors was in there working,
Okay.
you might say, around the clock trying to get that thing going.
All right.
Digging here and digging there. And They're crossovers. I never did think they were going to get going.
The side transfer things?
Yeah.
Uh-huh. Okay, that must have been some of the problems they had getting fired up.
Well, they had a couple of them get,
Uh-huh.
one car didn't move off and another car come up and
Got
get it
snuggled up.
sideways.
Uh-huh, all right. Okay.
And then the rolls machine down there, we didn't seem to have any problems there.
At the test rolls?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But at 36, when they started running the V8 engine down there,
Yeah. Yeah, the new rocket.
yeah,
Yeah.
they had an underground exhaust system on that.
Was this for like the test, engine test? Yeah, okay.
And that caused us quite a few headaches.
What happened in
Fires.
that? Oh, fires in the
Yeah.
ditch, in the trench?
Well, in the underground duct,
Oh,
the big duct, it was
Yeah.
about a 4-foot, 48-inch ductwork down there.
Oh.
It went up this on the roof then.
uh-huh.
But it,
Well, what happened?
well, the carbon
Uh-huh.
residue from the engines
Oh, yeah.
get hot, one backfire, something like that.
Yeah.
Go down in there and, catch it afire. Wouldn't do a heck of a lot of damage, just a lot of smoke.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
And of course, when we got up to the stack on the roof, then you
You really must
had
have seen
problems
something,
because
yeah.
it would melt the tire on the roof and stuff like that
Oh, yeah.
around it, and it would get hot.
Yeah.
So we used steam on that up there, and we had CO2 piped in it down below.
Yeah.
And
When those things happened, did they kind of kick everybody out of the plant, or what did they
Oh,
do?
no.
No. Just kept right on.
didn't even bother to shut the motor down.
Just kept right on it chugging, huh? Uh-huh.
Yeah,
All right.
and then they went to compressed air,
To blow it out?
to testing. the
Oh, yeah,
engines.
to test it. Yes. All right. Yeah.
Now, I don't remember if they went to compressed air before they went to natural gas, or was it natural
No,
gas?
I think the natural gas came before the compressed air. Yeah.
But
Were they running on gasoline in the early days?
Yes.
Oh, so they're using gasoline right in the test.
Oh yeah.
Oh my. All right.
Had to slave carburetor on it, to get in there and clamp it down
Yeah.
in place and take off.
Oh my. Okay.
And while it was running, now this was back on the old when I had the straight 6
Okay.
and
Yeah.
straight 8s.
Now those were up in front of 28 or something, weren't they? The test room for that. I think that was up in the front of 28.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Okay. While the engine was running, they had just the tappets on,
Oh. Okay.
and they had to get them warm,
Yeah.
check for leaks.
Sure. Yeah.
And that's the same as the north end of 36.
Uh huh.
The engine had to be warm
Yeah.
to check it for leaks.
Uh huh.
And so they would be running them for a little while. Of course,
Yeah.
they'd run hot water through them too
Yeah.
to help it.
Cool it down. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
But but that was the problems there in 36 was as far
Yeah.
as fires
Yeah.
was concerned.
Yeah.
Now, with the gas filling station over in 32,
This is for filling cars.
filling cars,
Uh huh.
I think it was 1 gallon or 2 gallon per car.
Yeah.
We had a few spills over there
Oh
that
yeah.
caused us problems. So I was
Okay.
worried. We had one fire at the pump,
Did you?
yeah, but didn't last very long because of the fire protection they had there.
Uh huh.
Because they had CO2 and they had dry chem piped in there.
All right. They were
Yeah.
kind of all automatic, or
Yeah.
kick off if something was.
And when I first put the dry chemic system in, there's a 300-pound system.
Okay.
So they thought they would try just 25 pounds in it.
See what would happen. Mhm.
They had dust over 2/3 of the building.
Oh really?
Yeah.
It just was a fog, huh?
Yeah. Oh,
Oh.
it's.
Uh-huh.
I figured, well, that's going to work in good shape,
Uh-huh.
and it did.
Uh-huh.
But the cleanup afterwards was weren't as bad as the fire damage.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
In fact, it cost more than the fire damage.
Yeah. Because it really put the fire out before anything happened.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I'll bet let's see, who was out there? Kenny Ricks at that time, or Jack McGinn?
I think Jack
right?
McGinn was
Yeah,
out there.
Yeah. Probably blew his stack.
I see Jack McGinn down there
Right.
last year.
To the get together.
And,
yeah.
course, Jack has been in here to park. He had an Airstream at one time,
Uh-huh.
but this wife that he's got now doesn't
Doesn't
like
that.
trailering.
Yeah.
Now, Ken Rich's wife, she just loves it.
Uh-huh.
And
Let's see, Glenn. Tell me about Homer Purchase. You haven't told me anything about Homer.
Homer was a good guy to work for.
He must have been there most of your career, so to speak.
Yeah, when I went there, he was in New York at the World's Fair as a security guard
Mhm.
for General Motors exhibits
Mhm.
over there. And he was there, I think, till about the start of the war.
Mm-hmm.
Then he came back.
Yeah.
And he may have been back a little bit before that, but I was over at the Forge for
Yeah,
at the time.
yeah.
So he stayed at the main plant.
Yeah.
So I didn't get to know him until he was made sergeant in 42.
Okay.
But he was always studying something, trying to improve himself
Mhm.
and the job.
Mm-hmm.
And he did a lot of work, background work, to get radios and stuff like that in there.
When you first came, how did you communicate?
Well, the beat officer, the man walking at the plant,
Uh-huh.
carried a little telephone on his hip.
Okay, like a hand receiver. Yeah.
And the fire alarm boxes had a jack in it. You plug
Oh.
that phone in, and it
All
would
right.
ring down in the office, and you could talk to the office.
All right.
And there was several phones out in the plant, but
Mhm.
nothing like there is today.
Yeah.
The foreman, I don't think, even had a phone in their office.
All right. So if you had to contact, you had to find one of your boxes or else find an office that had a phone.
Right.
Okay.
And in that fire alarm box also was a call light signal.
Okay.
So that when they turned the switch on down in the office, the lights in all those fire alarm boxes would come on.
Oh, yeah.
Plus, in the areas where they didn't have fire alarm boxes, there'd be a light come on, a blue call light out on
the floor?
You could recognize
Uh-huh.
because there was nobody else had blue call lights
Yeah.
or blue lights.
All right.
And then you would have to go to a phone or go to a fire alarm box and
All
call
right.
in.
Was the next progression then to the radio thing, or what happened after
Well,
that sort of system?
they went to all fire alarm boxes
Okay.
throughout, because that they had 4 or 5 city fire alarm boxes scattered throughout the plant,
Okay.
and they could pull one of those and you wouldn't know you had a fire.
Okay, but it would go right downtown.
It'd go right downtown.
Uh-huh.
And so they went, they took the city fire alarm boxes out
Okay.
and they put in what they called the BJ system
All right.
from ADT,
Okay.
which was a 4-way system: call lights, telephone, fire alarm, night watch.
All right. But these were scattered throughout the plant again.
Yeah,
On a
and they
location.
were so arranged that on your tour of duty or walking the beat, you hit one here, and then maybe change direction and go someplace else.
Yeah.
But it was so you'd have to walk through certain areas.
Uh-huh.
It was so you couldn't bypass, you
Yeah.
might say.
Yeah.
Now the old brass keys we had, you'd put them in and index them over one
Yeah.
notch,
Uh-huh.
and then you'd have to go to the next box
Uh-huh.
and index.
Do it again.
Then the last station on the key or on the beat where you used that key, it would take and go clear back to the first position again.
Okay.
And you had what they call a transmitter box. You put that in to start.
Mm-hmm.
That would send a signal to ADT and also down to the office.
Okay. So
And
you knew
get
this
it on the
person
tape.
was
was working at
doing
where
his
he was
route.
at.
Uh-huh.
And of course,
Was he timed to so he's supposed to be at a certain place at a certain time, or did he
you had 15 minutes to go from one box to another.
Okay. So if he didn't arrive,
But you had an hour to walk the beat.
all right. Oh, that's interesting. Okay. But if he didn't arrive at a box, then somebody knew that,
Yes.
and somebody would go out and find out what happened. The guy fell in a pit or whatever.
They turn the light on, see.
Yeah. Okay.
No,
All right.
but we've had guys fall in pits.
Yeah. Well, I'm sure you must have had funny things happen over there.
In fact, do you remember Harold Norris?
The
He was
name.
he was a fire inspector
Yeah.
in their department.
Yeah.
We went over. No, he was a fire inspector, but
Yeah.
he came into work at 6 o'clock in the morning,
Okay.
and I was working the midnight shift as a patrolman. We went over to Building 60 to put the flag up,
Mm-hmm.
and there was nobody else around, so Harold went with me.
Yeah.
And the elevator was supposed to be left down on the basement floor,
Mm-hmm. So management could ride up.
or something.
Right.
But they had a key up back of the pipe up there.
Yeah.
There's a sprinkler main.
Yeah.
Insert in the door, pry up. It would break the lock on the inside. That is the arm.
This is the door for the elevator.
That's
Yeah.
right.
Okay.
It would break it down. The door would start to open. You could push it open
Uh-huh.
and get into the elevator seat. Well, he was in the lead. He broke it open, shoved it open, and stepped in, and there was no elevator.
Oh my gosh.
And it was probably 10 foot.
It was down the next floor or something.
Well, he was down, he was in the basement. He was
Mhm.
just down in the pit.
Oh, okay.
But there was about that much oil and water.
Oh no.
And I had to look around, see what I could find to tie the door open.
Oh,
And
because they wanted to go shot.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because he had a key in his hand.
Yeah. He was in the basement or down in
He
the
was
hall.
down the hole.
Yeah.
So I hollered for the guy up in the lobby to come down and give me a hand.
Yeah.
He had his shoes off and laying on the Davenport up there, taking it. He finally got down there, and we got the door tied open.
Yeah.
And I told him I should call the office and get somebody over here. I said, I'll find the ladder and I'll get down in there with him. And I got down there, and he'd knocked out.
Oh, gee. Just laying in the ook.
Yeah. And that we finally got him back. Door
Yeah.
let us come to. Yeah, his shoulder was dislocated.
Oh gosh.
And we got him out. Of course, you couldn't. He had to
Crawl out.
climb the ladder
Yeah.
himself.
Yeah.
Got him up and called the ambulance, take him to the hospital. And he was off work about 4
Yeah.
or 5 months.
That's why they didn't get
That-
killed.
In fact, he never did get
Mhm.
completely healed.
Yeah.
He'd always having problems.
That's a nice concrete floor to land on.
Yeah. Besides, there's a couple big springs down there,
Oh,
you know,
sure.
and
The
some other
jump.
stuff down
Yeah.
there for.
Yeah. Stop the elevator.
Yeah. But the elevator was up on the second floor. Now,
Yeah.
who left it up there?
Yeah.
It must have been one of our guys,
Yeah.
because we was the only one in the building at that
Yeah.
time.
Yeah.
But nobody ever owned up to it.
Yeah. They went. When did the radio business come to pass, Glenn? So you must have had radios in the office, so to speak, between cars before you had them out in the plant?
Yeah. I was just trying to think back. It was in the early 50s. I think we got
Those big old tube type radios you used to get.
yeah, I bought one out of salvage.
Yeah, so did I.
And
But those early radios were just for cars, weren't they, that you had? You didn't have any that you toted around the plant with you?
no, we didn't have any portables.
Yeah, okay.
No, those strictly was mobile units,
Yeah,
you might
okay.
say.
So you had those in cars.
Yeah.
And you had like a base unit there at the office?
In the office, yeah.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. In fact, the transmitter was up in the penthouse, the elevator in 26,
Mhm.
east end of 26.
All right.
And the antenna's right up.
Yeah. Was up
Well,
on the
the
roof
first
or
antenna, the first radio was down in the vault.
something. All right.
And then when we put the second antenna up, then we moved the radio,
The transmitter itself.
the transmitter,
Yeah.
up there
Mhm.
in the penthouse.
Yeah. By the elevator there in
Yeah,
26.
and just run a coax cable
Yeah.
from the office up there to.
Now, before you retired, had we got to the handheld stuff yet?
We had a few of them,
Okay, they were just starting to come in.
yeah.
Mhm.
But I think we had 4
All
of
right.
them, I think.
Uh-huh.
And the sergeant was supposed to take one whenever he went out on his tour of duty.
Yeah.
And if he left the car, he was supposed to have that on.
All right. Uh-huh.
But that's about all they had to hand.
Yeah.
Then they went and bought, when Husby came.
Did Husby come while you were still there, or
Yes.
Homer had retired and?
Homer had retired, and Swab had retired.
All right.
Now Swab stayed 6 months longer than he wanted to.
Okay.
Because Husby was coming.
All right.
Now I had told them there at the office, or on my annual interview,
Yeah.
that when I reached 60 in March, I would retire March 1 or April 1.
Of what year would that?
That would have been 75.
75. Okay.
And I think Husby came in September of 73.
All right. So you were there for a couple of years with Husby.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, did the management approach change when you went from Purchase to Husby?
What was that again?
Did the management approach in the department change at all when you went from Purchase to Husby?
Not too much, no. See, Swab was in the interim there
All right.
as an acting.
Okay.
Director.
Right. As an acting chief or whatever you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Swab went, I think, the 1st of December.
Okay.
Husby came about the 1st of September, so they was September, October, November, 3 months there.
Of
The
overlap.
Yeah,
Uh-huh.
they
Uh-huh.
worked together.
Yeah.
And then when Husby came there, I told them that I was going to go,
Yeah.
so they didn't bother to come to me and ask. Now
Okay.
that's when Jim Retzloff
Yes.
wrote a letter to Cutler with copies to Jim Taylor, who was director for security operations
Yeah.
for General Motors.
See, Jim was the fire marshal at that point in time?
Yeah, he was fire marshal.
All right. Mm-hmm.
He said either Freeman or myself gets the chief's job or I'm quitting.
And he did.
Yeah. Well, he sent letters to people that
Yeah.
they called his bluff.
Took him up on it. Uh-huh.
So he did. What he
Yeah.
he wasn't sorry that he did, because he went with a sprinkler company,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
he was traveling all over. He was making a lot more money than he
Yeah.
made there.
Yeah.
Of course, he didn't have the home life that he
No.
had there.
See, he came in after Nick left, after Nick Kiefer left?
No, he came in as an assistant to Nick.
All right.
They kind of made that job for him.
Okay.
I think because Gale was the.
Yeah.
Of course, then while he was there, he hadn't graduated from GMI yet,
Right.
and he had to write his thesis.
Yeah, that 5th year program. Yeah.
And well, I think they used that as a basis for their manual on the fire system, fire
Uh-huh.
protection systems,
Yeah.
and so on. But then when Nick left, they made him fire marshal.
Okay.
Of course, at that time, Duke Shaw had retired,
Yeah.
and then Dale Huffman moved up to fire marshal when Jim left.
When Jim left. Were you still there when Dale started?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Of course, Retzloff took a lot of the engineering of the sprinkler system stuff away from plant engineering,
Yeah.
because he was designing them there in the office rather than let them design them up there,
Okay.
which gave him a good job as far as that goes.
Sure.
But on the other hand, it took something away. It added work to him that he didn't need.
Yeah. He was less susceptible or less likely to go out and chase the fire problems, so
Right.
to speak.
And of course, Huffman continued on that same line.
Okay.
I don't know if Dale's there yet now or not.
He was the last I knew, but he was getting ready.
He was getting ready.
Yeah. Let's see, Glenn. Homer was an interesting person, from my remembrances of him. Always had that big cigar, and sat in that corner office.
Mm-hmm.
And always had a good story to tell.
Yeah, never had rugs on the floor.
Never had rugs on the floor, right. What, and you worked a lot closer with him than I did. What are your remembrances of Homer?
Well, he was pretty much for the men as far as that goes.
Was he?
You know, he tried to do this and do that for him. But again, he was knocked down at the beginning by the personnel director.
Okay.
But then when Mahoney got there and the personnel director, their working relationship was very good.
Uh-huh.
And a lot of it he passed on down to the men.
Yeah. So there was a good rapport between the staff and the
Yeah.
chief, so to speak.
Yeah. Now,
Was it run like a police department per se, or how was?
when Bob Cook was there, yes, they tried to run it like a police department.
Okay.
Yeah, but there was some objections to it.
All right.
Now, if you recall, Judd Cordes,
Yes.
Sr.,
Okay.
was a brother-in-law of Bill Mahoney's,
Okay. Didn't know that.
but he worked as a patrolman for us here, for there. And he would tell Mahoney things, I'm sure, about, and it was nothing bad or anything like
No.
that, but it was given, you might say, the patrolman's views to Mahoney.
Yeah.
Mahoney could have it
Yeah.
to go back to purchase with.
Yeah.
So it was kind of both sides feeding stuff in there.
Yeah.
And I know that Bill was trying to raise the salaries to get the guys in the pension program.
Sure.
Now, it wasn't until about 1950 the patrolman's salary was high enough to
Oh,
get
is
in.
that right?
Oh, yeah.
Oh.
Well,
Yeah.
it's the lowest paid department, you might say,
Yeah.
in the plant.
Yeah.
And it, so he was trying to get it up there where he could get them in the pension program.
Sure.
And Mahoney was for that too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I know there's one time we was to one of the meetings up there. It was just after Andy Anderson
Mm-hmm.
had been to one of the meetings with the set up the retirement program for the hourly employees. Mahoney says, I don't care what to do for those hourly employees as much as I do for the salaried employees. He says, damn it, let's get them up where they can get them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And purchase was for it. He was given, there was times that as far as the supervision was concerned, part of this supervision would get raised and the other part wouldn't.
Mm-hmm.
Because he couldn't give everybody a raise.
Yeah. Yeah.
And when the patrolman went into union, of course, everything had to go up in notches.
Inched up with the union requirements, so to
Yeah.
speak. Uh-huh.
And they couldn't take and say, well, we'll give you a merit increase.
Mm-hmm.
But either you did the work or you didn't do the work.
Yeah.
If you did the work, you got paid.
Yeah.
If you didn't do the work, you got rid of.
Right.
And it kind of got to where it pointed. You couldn't fire a man
Mm-hmm.
because we'd catch fellows asleep on the job.
But that must have been a kind of a terrible, boring job. Some of those must have been.
It all depends on how you look at it. Yeah.
Okay.
When a guy is out there,
Sitting in a gatehouse or something.
okay, you can still review different things. Have a schedule or something like that to review.
Mm-hmm.
I used to take papers and list all the fire alarm boxes
Okay.
and their locations.
So you were trying to make good use of that time.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And it was nothing that would occupy my mind to where I couldn't
Yeah, right.
look out.
Yeah.
And then pick out, for instance, well, where's box 143?
Mm-hmm.
And different things like that, job related,
Mm-hmm.
that to help yourself and also to help pass the time.
Yeah, get you through that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Did you encourage the people, the patrolmen, to do those kinds of things to help themselves, so to speak, through the day?
Not too much, no.
Okay.
If they came to you and said, "The hell can I do?"
Yeah.
Well, you can do this if you don't let it interfere with your
Yeah.
other stuff.
Yeah.
But the reason for not letting them read out of the gates, stuff like that, when I read, I get so engrossed in it.
Yeah.
You come up and touch me on the shoulder before I even know you're there.
Yeah. That's true. Yeah.
And it's for that type of deal. We couldn't allow them to read at the
Mhm.
gates.
Yeah.
As far as radio is concerned, you got a radio going, something that's happening over here is noisy, a strange
Mhm.
noise, you
Mhm.
can't hear it
Don't
because
hear
of the radio.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And but anything that didn't make noise or didn't detract from,
Mm-hmm.
there's no reason why you couldn't do it.
Yeah.
And but I used to enjoy some of the night duty over there,
Mm-hmm.
where you'd be alone,
Yeah.
because it did give you a chance to think.
Mm-hmm.
You just look at this darn computer.
Yeah, that's right. Makes you think.
Keeps your mind active.
Now, all that time, Glenn, during the 50s and the 60s that you were there, we did one heck of a lot of land buying. The plant expanded and got bigger and bigger and built more buildings and tore down houses. Did all of that happening change anything or cause anything peculiar to happen?
It changed their way of thinking as far as Plant 4 was concerned when they went out there.
Okay.
On the night shift, we used to have 2 men out there. Why? There was no traffic in the gate. The plant was absolutely shut down.
Nobody was in the plant. virtually.
Nobody was in the plant,
Mm-hmm.
not even the maintenance personnel.
Mm-hmm.
Why have a man in there and a man out at the gate?
Okay.
You can assign him that, but the man that's in there is going to be out the gate with the other guy.
Mm-hmm.
So you got 2 guys doing one man's job.
Mm-hmm.
No need for that second man. So we eliminated him.
Okay.
For the length of time that we needed a man there, we kept a man overtime.
Mm-hmm.
And which was maybe 20 minutes.
Okay.
So that was much cheaper.
Mm-hmm.
And we came through, one time, Purchase came in and he went through the reports on a Monday morning after a long holiday. He said, he said, we had 6 men over plant. He's on a certain day. Didn't get one irregularity report. He said, what in hell are we going to do?
Mm-hmm.
I said, well, no, this is over holiday
Yeah,
weekend or
long
something like
period.
that.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I said, why, you do with them like you do with the rest of the salaried people around here. He says, what's that? I said, give them the time off. Can't do that, can we? I said, why not? I said, you don't let me work. Scheduled day of work. It's holiday. I can't work. Why should they work then?
Mm-hmm.
We can. Just keep what you need. He said, let me talk to Cutler. He come back. He says, cut down to the bare minimum on holidays.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So, we did. We cut down to the bare minimum on holidays.
Mm-hmm.
Then we got into a program where we wouldn't hire people. We had to work quite a lot of overtime.
Cover yourself with overtime.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And it got to the point that they didn't want to work overtime.
Mm-hmm.
He was getting tired of working. Well, come on in. The wife's in here. And it's so they would take working. They turned them down. Then they come up with the idea as the low man on hours, as far as overtime hours is concerned, whether it's the 6th or 7th day, if they're still low on hours, let them work.
Oh, okay, so you're equalizing hours, sort of. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Where it used to be, we tried to equalize hours as far as 6th day was concerned.
Yeah.
And then 7th day, later,
Yeah.
if anybody got double time here someplace,
Yeah.
then in that last contract was set in with Husby and Sam Donahue, and there was somebody else in labor relations on it too. But they gave things away that I knew, and tried to tell them, but they wouldn't listen.
Yeah.
And when they got a chance to retire, which I took.
It didn't hurt your feelings, huh?
No, not a bit.
Yeah.
And it was less than a year.
Yeah.
They was asking for some concessions from them.
Yeah.
And the union went along with them.
Yeah.
Which
is good.
Yeah, very good.
Yeah,
they could see the point.
Yeah.
And I think Willard Stanton was the chairman of the bargaining committee at the time. And Willard's got a pretty good head on his shoulder.
Yeah, if you had a good committee person that you were working with, it helped a lot.
Oh, yeah. And it, we had something, Willie Pittman, I don't remember whether or not he was a colored boy.
Yeah, didn't know him.
And he was one the city police picked up for drug trafficking.
Oh, great.
And of course, I was a liaison officer between the police departments and our department. And I knew it was coming because one of the fellows downtown was working on it. He says, I'd sure like to nail him and get that big Cadillac he's driving. And they did. They picked him up, but he was clean. They couldn't find it.
Couldn't do it. Huh?
Couldn't find anything. And he was under indictment for a couple, 3 weeks there.
Yeah.
And he was working every day as far as we was concerned. We couldn't let him go.
No.
Because they had a deal like that. I think it was over Buick. Buick had it. That the guy was arrested, tried, and found not guilty.
Yeah.
They had fired him from the shop.
They had to back pay him and everything.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, that's right.
And we'd learned our lesson there. At somebody else's expense.
Right. Hey, Glenn, who was the best boss you ever had?
Well, Purchase, Schwab, and Husby.
In that order, kind of?
No.
Oh.
No.
Oh.
They were all
good.
All good. I never went to any of them with a question that I didn't get an answer.
Okay.
And I never asked any of them for anything that they didn't give me if they could.
Okay.
And I enjoyed working with all of them.
Yeah.
And in fact, I told Husby when I left, I said, when you got that job, I said I was a little envious. I said, not disappointed, not envious.
Yeah.
I said, but I'd already told them that I'd planned on retiring at such and such a time. And if they thought it better to bring somebody else in, fine.
Yeah.
And I said, it's been a darn good thing that they did, because you brought in many ideas that I didn't have, because I came up under Purchase and Schwab. Our ideas was everything the same. And I said, you brought in different ideas from downtown and all. I said, it's been a boom to the department. Well, he says, I'm glad to hear it. Of course, I'd known Darrell several years.
Yeah, you must have had dealings with him downtown. Yeah.
In fact, he was on the Central Michigan Law Enforcement Board at one time as a trustee. And so I enjoyed working with him very much. And I was sorry that Retzloff had made the statement he had.
He stuck his foot in his mouth, but that's...
Jim was a pretty smart fellow on some things. Other things he had never grown up. But he would have been a good man.
Yeah, eventually.
Eventually, that's right.
Glenn, what do you think was maybe the most significant happening during all those years that you were there? From up
My retirement.
Okay, other than your retirement, how's that?
Well, I can't pick out any one thing.
Nothing, no one thing stands out in your mind there that
No,
would be
it's,
significant. Okay. Well, I know you got to go here pretty soon, but any other, what I will call happenings that you can think of that might be of interest to folks?
No, I can't, Jim. Thinking back, that there was a lot of humorous things in there.
Oh, I'm sure.
And like one night over in 32, we worked a midnight shift. 32 was that time was in shell machining. And along the old railroad track that was in there.
Kind of up the middle of the building.
And well, between 32 and 75.
Right.
On the south side of the tracks, we had a bunch of expanded metal laying there. And I was loose that night. As no specific job to do, just to wander the plant, look here and there. And I was over in that area, and I seen Leon Kennedy coming down alongside railroad track. He was on the beat. And he see me, and he was nonchalant, looking around like that. He ran into that with his foot. Tripped him, he went down on all fours. He had some mighty sore-looking hands and knees.
I bet he did. Pulling on that expanded metal stuff is sharp. Probably embarrassed, too.
Yeah. Well, there was another deal over there in that particular area. It used to be 32 export, they call it. That's where they loaded the...
Ship the cars out.
At the west, or at the east end of the train well, they had one of these big sirens on the program clock. And the clock was programmed for daytime. And it rang in the morning, same time it would in the afternoon. And it's about 3:15, 3:20, somewhere along in there. That doggone thing would take off. And that's about the time you'd be down through there on the beat.
Oh, boy.
And unless you were thinking about it, that would take off and it'd just take and run water through your veins.
You would jump a mile.
No matter how many times I'd walk through there like that, it always happened.
That's great, Glenn. Well, I appreciate the time you've taken with me this morning. And
it's been fun. It's interesting.
Interesting to reminisce about the place again. So.
Of course, the last 3 years, I haven't been back down to the plant, other than the out personnel services. Well, the last time I was there, they were just experimenting on the Priero body up there, in 78.
Okay.
They were
doing the urethane stuff, working on the urethane stuff.
Husby took me up there, wanted to show me that.
That's neat.
Of course, the family is taking advantage of the employee discounts.
Oh, sure. Yeah, that's kind of nice for everybody now.
So we got a boy at Michigan there is on the fire department in Lansing, and he has bought 2 cars, one last year and one this year, through that program.
That's great. Great.
And the boy out in Massachusetts, he got a 68. Because he was a vendor at that time. He was a paper distributor for the Worcester Telegraph Gazette, carrying Olds advertising. They gave him a discount.
Great.
And
that's okay, Glenn. Well, I'm going to shut this thing off.
Okay.